What's up everyone? So today we're going to be doing Aquarius rising sign, aka Aquarius Ascendant. Talk about the natural scientist and physicist of this world. So Aquarius Ascendant and rising sign, who are they? Well, first of all, if you're new to my channel, what is rising sign and ascendant? Rising sign is pretty much the sign, the zodiac sign that was rising from the east, where sun rises from at the time of your birth. So if you're born at 10:15 in the evening, on your birthday, and your Aquarius was rising from that point, that becomes your rising sign. And what it does is sets the entire map of your life. So it's far more important than, your moon sign or sun sign horoscope, because it literally sets the fact what kind of family environment you will be coming from, what kind of education you'll have and children, and what kind of a partner you will run into and career. Okay, so let's talk about Aquarius rising sign. So Aquarius ascendant people, their personality is pretty much very worldly, and it is all about knowing the world and discovering it through a scientific form. What do I mean by this? These people, naturally want to know how nature works and what is the driving force behind nature. So these guys are the ones, who love watching Discovery Channel, who love watching National Geographic about the planets, about animals, what's going on in nature. So these guys actually make very good astrologers. And this is why, in order to become astrologer, your 2nd, 5th, 8th and 11th house must be very well placed. And Aquarius is the natural spot for the 11th house, for that worldly knowledge, that scientific view. So they're very spiritual, but at the same time, they're very much about wanting to know how things work in this universe, okay? Their family, they usually come from a very esoteric family. Like their father could be, something very unorthodox, like he could be a preacher, he could be a spiritual leader. The father could be a poet or a writer. Father could be an artistic person. Father could be, father could be a magician. Father could be a healer, so they come from this very unusual family base where usually the parents may not do the things that everyday parents do, okay? Their siblings, their courage, their everyday communication, okay, that is very much either good or bad. And usually because it's ruled by Aries, Mars energy is there. So obviously they have a very strong willpower to go and try to finish what they have started, or when they set up a goal, they go after it. But Mars energy is very kind of violent natured energy. So either they will have a very, active relationship with their siblings, like they're going on hiking, they're doing all these things together, or they might run after each other to stab each other. They will always have this animosity against one another. So their everyday communication with their relatives and family members is a bit aggressive, either in a very active way or very negative way, where they will just, they can be betrayed by their siblings as well. It has that nature, that Mars nature there. When it comes to their family, like a home life, the home nourishment, it's kind of a bit turbulent, even though, because Taurus rules this house, their 4th house of family nourishment, the motherly nourishment. But remember, Venus is not very friendly towards moon, and 4th house is the original house of the moon. So what happens is they might internally feel that my mother gave more nourishment to my other siblings than me. So they may feel a lack of nourishment from the mother. Okay, they may feel that my mother never, really nourished me enough to, understand me. But they have a very, very, solid home foundation base. Whenever they get married and whenever they have their own independence, their own home, they want that to be big, and they want that to be very homely and very beautiful, because of the fact that Venus energy is there, and Venus is a signifactor of marriage. So it represents the home after marriage, really. Okay, their children, very communicative children. They get very communicative, very artistic children. Their children may be very quick-minded, like very clever children they get. Their education is also very good, and because of their ascendant, who's a very scientific nature's ascendant, the Mercurian energy in the 5th house helps them to be more, to have one of those, amazing writing skills, to have those skills so they can write their research report. They can make good accountants because of this 5th house Mercurian energy. They can obviously make great screenwriters, great lyricists, because Mercury, the Gemini, represents the hand. So when it comes to their enemies, oppositions in a workplace, diseases, debts, litigation, they always go through ups and downs in these in this part of life, because it's ruled by Moon. Okay, it's ruled by Cancer, the 6th house, and this is why these things are always going up and down, because whichever house Moon rules in your birth chart, you're always going to find ups and downs in those avenues of your life. So these guys, face a lot of opposition suddenly from somewhere. People start hitting on them, people will go against them, and suddenly, the next year they'll make all the enemies will suddenly become friends. They will flourish. One time they'll go in debt, a lot of debt, then they'll suddenly come out of it and they will have a lot of money. So all of these things represented by the 6th house goes up and down, okay? When it comes to their marriage, their life partner, their legal partnerships, they always look for somebody who can boost their ego, who can, who they can show off to the world that, hey, look, this is my wife. She's, look at that. She's a superstar. And these guys are always attracted to women or husband who are either very politically connected, who are very aggressive, who are very creative and artistic in nature, that they shine into the world. They always like to have a wife or a husband who can boost their ego into the world, that, hey, like this is my wife, like this is my trophy wife, or this is my, trophy rich husband who's politically connected, or who's a CEO of a company, because of the fact they themselves are so in their actual ascendant, the 1st house, they themselves are actually so immense into their own world of science and scientific research and even spirituality, that they really need somebody else to show who they are, to show their ego. So they actually get a big boost from their partner, and especially after marriage, their career kind of takes off, because their partner, the kind of partner they find, the Sun personality, pushes them to, hey, you can do this, go ahead, do this. Their family their joint assets with their husband or wife are very calculated. They always are both investing. They say, hey, let's put this much money here, let's put this much money here. And they're very intelligent about their, joint assets and their family, how they react with their in-laws. It's a very intellectual conversation with them. They don't really want to waste their intelligence into useless conversation with the in-laws. They want to have always a philosophical conversation with them, very intelligent conversation with them. When it comes to, their higher education, their higher philosophical nature, their religious views are quite balanced. They're not very extremist on anything. Even if they're born into an extremist family, they'll be the ones who are kind of well balanced, because they have reasoning. Because of their Aquarian scientific, personality, they kind of reason like, do I really need to be, this extreme about these things? Fine, okay, I'm a Hindu, but I'm not going to be, too much into it. So they're well balanced in those areas, unless, of course, Venus is debilitated. If Venus is weak or debilitated, because Venus is ruling the 9th house, the Libra house, they will be extremely involved in religious things, extremely involved in esoteric things. Because if Venus is debilitated in the 8th house, Virgo, okay, which I just explained, they're going to be into a cult. They will, secretly will always be involved in a cult. Okay, when it comes to their career, the 10th house, which is ruled by Scorpios, they're secretly very jealous of other people's success. They may never express it, but they'll be like, why am I not there? Why am I not number one? What am I doing wrong? So kind of they secretly self-destruct themselves when it comes to getting a higher rank. Because Mars is ruling the Scorpio sign, and Mars is a very aggressive planet. And in Scorpio, it's kind of like the darker energy. Okay, but remember, Mars is also controlling their third house of communication, of media. So these guys can go into advertisement, into a media industry, and be very fierce in those industries. Okay, they can, if they were to become an executive of a media company or advertising company, secretly they will do things, manipulate people. They will try to seek secret powers to go and to be at the top of their industry. And so, they may look very philosophical, very nice natured people from the outside, but when it comes to their position in society, they will secretly do whatever it takes to be that number one. Yet in the front, they'll be like, oh no, I'm very humble, I'm very nice, I have no ego. But really, there's ego, which is their partner and their career, the partner who's driving their career. The secret dealings happen between their legal partners and their career. The wife will say, no, do this. They will scheme, with their partner how to get to a higher position, yet at the same time trying to look good. When it comes to their gains, it's very, very good gains, very high gains, because Jupiter is not only ruling their wealth house, the second house of fixed family assets, but also the 11th house of gains. So their network, 11th house, which is also representing their friend circle, are very higher, intelligent people in their field. They make contacts naturally with people who are spiritually inclined, who are higher up in their position, who are very knowledgeable about their field. They can be anybody. Even if they make friends with a carpenter, naturally their carpenter will know ins and out about carpentry business. So depending upon the condition of Jupiter, they can really gain a lot of huge amounts of money, because Jupiter is about expansion. But let's say if Jupiter is excelled in the 6th house, or house of debt, they may actually gain wealth through borrowing money. They can spend and show their wealth through borrowed money. Like they can be in so much debt because they kept borrowing. They got a house by borrowing money. They got a car through borrowing money. They started a company through borrowing money. So they need to be careful, because even though Jupiter could be excelled in the 6th house in Cancer, they can be under a lot of debt, because it's also ruling their financial house. Okay, and they can get into long-term debts. Okay, when it comes to their spiritual side, their meditative side, their foreign travels, their long distance travel. First of all, these guys do not like to be far away from the home. Whenever they go outside, they feel frustrated and they get exhausted, and they want to just come back to themselves. Why? Because Saturn is ruling their 12th house and their ascendant. So their body and their spiritual world and their foreign travels and their meditative state. And Saturn is a very slow moving planet. So whenever they take long distance trip, they do not want to take it for too long, because their energy is being exhausted there. Because 12th house is where you exhaust your energy. Okay, so these guys also are kind of sleep deprived because of this. Because their energy of the body is being exhausted in these 12th house things, they just feel sleep deprived. And Saturn there, it's just creating this karmic lesson for them to learn, that they may have to travel so much because of their career, but they might not really like it. They want to be home. They want to be around in their sanctuary. They do not really want to be in that spiritual world or that other dimensional world, but because of the Saturn's karmic lessons, they always end up doing things that are related to esoteric things, and they either may gain from it or they may lose a lot because of it. So guys, this was my analysis on Aquarius Ascendant. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above. That's what you do. And if you want to know more about astrology and then true astrology, check out my link below. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.